Hello everybody. So I was just going to make a quick video response. I realize this is an MBTI channel, but it's also kind of a channel I just want to do whatever I want on. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to answer some arguments I've been getting from atheists. So the most common one I get is, how do you know your God is the right God, or whatever? There's thousands of religions out there. How do you know you have the right one? Most people don't realize that all the religions of the world, out of all the thousands you're talking about, can be categorized into three categories. Just three. 99% of all the religions of the world are in the polytheism category, which basically is belief in more than one God. This would also include New Age, most New Age stuff, and most Eastern religions like Hindu. Like the people that say everything is God, you're God, that kind of stuff. That is very non-Christian. So that's not the Christian teaching at all, and that would completely contradict it. So there's a lot of New Age stuff that has infiltrated Christian. Anyway, kind of getting off on a tangent, but anyway, though, so yeah, 99% of all religions of the world are polytheistic. There's only three religions. I'll go through the other categories first, actually. So that's category number one, is polytheism. And then there's non-theism, which is a religion without a god, basically. So Buddhism would be an example. And then the last one is monotheism. That's the third. There's only three religions out of all the thousands of the world that are monotheistic. It means only one God. So, and the God is separate from the universe, created the universe. That's monotheism. The three religions that are monotheistic are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So if you have arguments for monotheism, if you have good arguments for a monotheistic God over a pantheistic God, which I believe there are good arguments, philosophical arguments for monotheistic God, I have not seen good arguments for polytheism. So that narrows down to three religions out of all the thousands: Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. So that's a common one I get. That kind of simplifies that a little bit. Also, common one you get, some of these, people aren't going to be happy with the answers, but they're logical, in my opinion. Logical answers. A common one you'll get is, if everything has to be created, who created God, right? Well, a monotheistic God, the Christian belief in a monotheistic God, is an uncreated God. And I realize to the human brain that's incomprehensible to be uncreated. So instantly people kind of think you're crazy if you say that. But it actually makes logical sense that if God is outside the universe and created the universe, that he's going to be beyond our comprehension. So meaning you won't be able to understand it. So that's actually perfectly logical that there would be things you wouldn't be able to understand. Like being uncreated, being timeless and spaceless, because we know, because science teaches us, science has proven that there was a Big Bang 13 billion years ago, so we know the universe had a beginning. And because things don't just come out of nothing, there had to be a cause for that Big Bang. And the cause has to be spaceless, timeless, immaterial, and also a personal being. There's arguments for the reason why it has to be a personal being as well. And it has to be, the reason it has to be timeless and spaceless and immaterial, because space-time continuum exists as a continuum. They all have to come into existence at once. Otherwise, because if you have space and matter but no time, when would you put it? If you have matter and time but no space, where would you put it? So they all have to come into existence simultaneously, which obviously is impossible if the universe began from nothing. There has to be some sort of outside. Anyway, so and when you narrow down to those three religions, then people usually ask you, well, why do you choose Christianity over all those? Well, if you have it narrowed down to all of those, it's actually pretty simple, in my opinion, to narrow down to Christianity. We have the proven historical figure of Jesus, which 95% of all historians, even secular historians, agree that Jesus existed. Anyone tries to tell you he didn't, they're full of shit, and they're full of it, because we have more evidence for the existence of Jesus and the things he said and did than we have for any other historical person from that time period. So it's really just a stretch. It's atheists looking for something, in my opinion. They're looking for, it's like they're desperate to find something. So they just say, oh, well, he didn't exist, so that disproves your religion right there. No, he did. Anyway, though, so and all those arguments they try to give are false. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet because there's a lot of internet atheists that spread misinformation on websites and things like that have false statistics. They have false facts, basically, that they put on there. Like for example, that none of the manuscripts for the New Testament were from around before 100 AD. They were all around 2 to 300. That's not true. In fact, all of them were from before 100 AD. And Mark even has been dated to as early as, I think, I can't remember now, but it was like 55 maybe AD. So during the time where the writers were still alive, the people that eyewitnesses of Jesus and eyewitnesses of his followers' teachings were still alive. So anyway, kind of went up on a tangent, but there are historical facts. There are some basic historical facts that are good evidence that Jesus existed and the things he said and did actually happened. So that's my belief. I don't go around trying to force it on anyone, but people have asked me to give reasons for my belief, and from my experience, most people don't know this kind of stuff that I know. Most Christians even are usually blown away when they hear this kind of stuff because they're not taught that kind of stuff either, really. Most of them. Atheists oftentimes get very angry because they're used to religious people not having arguments. So when they see me having arguments, they usually don't like it very much. They get very upset. People don't like to lose debates. This is not a debate I lose. I've never lost. And it's because I'm right. It's not because I have any tricks, It's because I'm right. So, and the facts are on my side. The science is on my side. And his history, archaeology, everything. In fact, there have been cases where the Bible actually was right when the experts weren't. Like, for example, it used to be people tried to say the Bible was discredited because it talked about the Hittites. And no historian or archaeologist at the time had ever heard of the Hittites, and there was no evidence for anything else talking about the Hittites. But then they found the Dead Sea Scrolls in like the 40s, and the Dead Sea Scrolls had manuscripts that talked about the Hittites. So there's an incident right there, and there's a lot more, where the Bible was right when the experts were wrong. Anyway, I could go on and on forever. But, people ask me to give some answers there, and that's what I'm doing. Probably kind of rambly, but, that's to be expected. And I am 100% positive this video will get some rebuttals. We'll get people trying to debate. And I can tell you right now that almost every single answer you're going to have or debate that you're going to have is something that is much easier to refute than you think. Something that, as someone who debates this kind of stuff, you've heard it a million times, most of it. So it's usually the typical stuff that has been debunked all over the place. But internet atheists typically don't run into these arguments because, you know, in all honesty, they're not sophisticated. They're not sophisticated in this subject area. They think they are, but they're not. You know, because they're not really exposed to real arguments. So, probably get some dislikes from the atheists and stuff, but if you have any questions, let me know. Those are my thoughts.